Welcome on to the next edition of Up as we head towards the Comrades Marathon in 2026. It seems like forever ago, Lindsay, that you and I caught up on this podcast. But I was having a look and it was 4 weeks ago. As we said we were going to. We were going to give you a few week break between episodes. So you are freshly back from Berlin. How are things going, bud?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. I picked up the obligatory cold or flu, whatever you want to call it, coming back from Europe, especially after running a marathon. So I've been a little bit under the weather this week, but feeling a lot better today. And definitely looking forward to summer.
As I ask you that question, I start coughing. So, yeah, I don't know if you've just passed whatever you had over the interwebs to me, but it looks like I have now picked it up just as we started recording the podcast. But all is good. Before we start talking Comrades, Linz, the reason you were in Berlin was obviously to run the marathon. For those of you who know, or everyone who knows you, they would have sort of seen the result and that sort of thing. But for folks who don't know, another major under the belt, that's a big one, but results not exactly what you would have hoped for.
No, and look, I have been battling a little bit in the training. So I guess not completely unexpected. And I'll say the worst thing about this race experience for me was simply that it's just about the first time in my life I've gone into a race with no idea of what to expect. So I knew that I'd done a fair body of work, even if not all of it had gone well. I had trained reasonably well in terms of the numbers. But been having problems with particularly my left quad, but both quads. I don't want to get into the boring details, but the short version is that I went into this race now I could run anywhere between 3 hours and 10 minutes and 4 hours. Just depending on how much I could actually run, because it's not an injury. Per se. So yeah, so from that point of view, it was weird and it was difficult and it made it hard for me to actually like get into the proper vibe. Having said that, awesome expo. I really enjoyed the expo. The merch this year was quite lacquer, and I always find that does make a difference.
I'm going to cut you off right there because you sent me a message from the expo. You were saying the expo was cool. You said to me, "There's no expo like the Comrades Expo." So this,
No, there isn't, but it was cool. I still got it. I still got into the vibe, but there is no expo like the Comrades Expo. That I promise you. But it was still cool. There was a cool vibe, and there was a cool vibe with the runners. We took our photos and did all of that stuff. And then race day was very chilled. I mean, there were some quite intense people, being in wave one, group B, the A guys, I think they thought they were there for the Olympics. But yeah, the start was quite cool but chilled. I mean, again, nothing like the Comrades start. So don't ever expect a race to bring the fierce like Comrades brings the fierce. And for our international listeners, that's the vibe, to bring the vibe like Comrades does. And then the race itself, I can highly recommend for people. So again, personally, I couldn't run really. I had to, I'd be fine for a K, and then this thing with my legs would start, and then my 5Ks, I'd have to walk to give it a break, and it would go away, and that was my pattern all day long until I lost the optimism, thinking it would go away and permanently, and it never did. But the crowds were cool. It was hot. It was, I mean, the whole week I thought people were being ridiculous. Where they were carrying on with the weather. South Africans were used to it, but it was hot. Hot, hot, hot. I mean, like savagely hot. But the race was cool. The spectators were cool. Running under the Brandenburg gates, mega cool. Yeah, the cheering and whatever as you got into that last kilometer, unbelievable. And then Berlin itself, like the actual city is just a great, great, great place. My new favorite city, or international city, should I say.
even
So
even it's
thoroughly,
even better than Liverpool, Lindsay. Is that what you're trying to tell us here?
yeah, it's definitely better than Liverpool. No, it's just a really cool place, cool people, cool history, like wacky, like mad history.
Mm.
Obviously, we learnt about it in history at school, but you still don't really get it until you go there and see these places and how it all unfolded. Crazy. So no, cool weekend. Had an amazing time. Not my best marathon. Um, but it's still 3.5 hours. I won't complain about it too much. Not my
I'm
best,
sitting,
not my worst.
I'm sitting here laughing because you're going, I couldn't run. Like, it's just, I couldn't run. And for those of us who are the 11:59:59 comrades, like, when you can't run, it actually means you can't run. Like, your leg has fallen
Yeah.
off and you're done. Whereas for someone who runs like 3:10 marathons in their sleep normally, can't run means a 3:30. So,
Yeah.
these are
And
ABAC problems that the rest of us don't understand.
and I did have a unique experience, something that I've never experienced before in my life, and that is that I counted every single kilometer. So I have never ever run anything in my life where I've needed to see the next K, and then I've needed, normally sometimes like 7-8 kilometers can go by, and I'm like, oh boy, So that's kind of it was a very unique experience from that point of view. Um, but yeah, here we are. They can't all go according to plan. That is the truth of life.
Yep.
And so we made lemonade and we had a good time.
Yeah, Lindsay, and I just wanted to add there too. This is major number 4 for you now, I think.
Yeah,
And in South Africa, I mean, for many of us, our life revolves around Comrades, and we think Comrades is the be all and end all. I've been lucky enough to run one major. You've now done number 4, and as special as Comrades is, I mean, you said the atmosphere at the Comrades start second to none, the expo at Comrades second to none, but something has to be said for the majors. They are special races in their own right. It's hard to
yeah, yeah.
compare them because they're very different. But I mean, if you do get the opportunity and you're lucky enough to go and run a major, or get the opportunity to possibly go, I'd say grab it with 2 hands, and I'm sure you'd agree.
No, you must. I mean, it's the atmosphere that's created between the start and the finish is like unbelievable. So, Comrades, you have pockets of wonderful support, but the majors, it's 42 Ks of wonderful, wonderful support. Um, and the atmosphere is amazing, not just between not just the spectators, but between the competitors, and so many people come from all over the world. It's not, I mean, even I've done Berlin, I've done Barcelona, like none of these races are dominated by the home crowd. The races are filled with international people. So it's really just an incredible atmosphere from start to finish. Very cool to do a major. And I will say that I'm going to say big city marathon because I've done outside of the majors too, and the big city marathons bring it. Like, it's not just the majors that do this. Very much um, in Amsterdam or Paris
Valencia.
are just as good to go and do, and way easier to get into. I might add.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to give up an organ to get into one of those races. Lindsay, it is marathon season. Obviously, Berlin happens when this gets released a week ago, just on a week ago. But there's lots of marathons happening around the world, and also in our own backyards. I know in Cape Town, it's ridiculous the amount of people that are out and about training for the Cape Town Marathon. That's coming up in just a few weeks' time. There's lots of marathons happening up north, as always, this time of the year as well. But as far as Comrades training goes, I mean, we spoke about it 4 weeks ago that if you were planning on qualifying, it is peak training right now.
Yeah, 100%. So look, and it doesn't matter, as you said, where you are in the world. Chicago is happening in a couple of weeks' time. There's marathons happening in Europe now as we speak. This weekend coming, South Africa's got Cape Town Marathon in a couple of weeks' time. We've got Soweto Marathon coming in November. We've got Kaapstad coming up. So South Africa's full of marathons. The rest of the world, it's marathon season right up until the first week of December. So for the vast majority of people, we're in peak training now. And so what I would say to focus on right now is making sure you get your recovery on point. Um, you don't want to be injured now, but it can happen, and we'll touch on that in a second because Brant's got something to share with us. But you want to be focusing on recovery, getting in that bit of extra sleep, making sure after your long and intense sessions that you're getting in your carb mixes, making sure you're getting enough protein, and making sure you're getting enough rest. So I think that's really key through this period. A lot of people are pushing the high intensity work in particular really hard now. Couple that with long runs, and that's your most dangerous period for getting injured. So really just double down on that recovery. Make sure that you do that properly. Give yourself the best chance you can of surviving, getting through this. Yeah, and then before we move on to the novices and where they should be, maybe we just touch a little bit on you, and we can use you to help anyone else who's in the same place.
Yeah, Lindsay, I mean, I've spoken to you briefly, sort of offline, but for those of you who don't know, the last, like, I've had a horrendous last 2 and a bit weeks. It was about, well, yeah, 3 weeks ago actually.
It
That
was the week.
it was,
It was the
yeah,
week before Berlin.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was basically 3 weeks today, as this is being published, that I was out on a run. Things were going, I mean, training wise has been good. I've been getting the mileage, and I haven't been feeling great. I've felt a little bit flat. But I was about 10 Ks into a run, a 12K run, and felt like I got hit by a sniper in the back of the calf, and yeah, literally stopped straight away. It was super, super sore. I had to phone my wife to come and get me, like I was hobbling that badly. Been seeing a physio, getting it treated, but I haven't run for the last 3 weeks, essentially. So, yeah, training has not gone well. I would like to run Cape Town, but I think the challenge is here. Like the first week, I was like, oh, I've got to get back. But I've also sort of come to terms with the fact that I'd like to run Cape Town, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. The race will be there next year. But I don't want to go and do long-term damage. So what I have been doing is quite a bit of cross-training. I've been back on the bike. I've been swimming. So fitness-wise, I'm staying fit and I'm actually enjoying it, but I am missing the running. For anybody who's struggling with a niggle now, Lindsay, what's the sort of deal? Like, do we push to try and make sure we run Cape Town and try and qualify, or whatever marathon it is you're training? Like, how do we sort of deal with it? Or is next year, you're not worried about qualifying next year?
So the first step for me always is like, how do we treat it? So I think you've done everything except that well. So you rested, but then didn't do anything actually about it. You just rested a week and then went out for a run a week later, and it lasted all of 1.5 Ks, boom, and then it went again.
Wasn't even one and a
So
half K. It was about 300 meters from home. It went again.
so I think that's always the first thing. Like, if you've got something that is still sore, like 72 hours after you've injured it, you've got to get to a physio. So, and then that gives you a really good idea of how serious is this injury, how long am I going to be out, and then you can make some plans as to what to do. So I think if you hurt yourself now, the typical ice elevation compression for 72 hours, but still sore, get yourself to a physiotherapist. Okay. Now you're in Brad's position when it's acute tear. So an acute tear, it's minimum 2 weeks, and possibly a little bit longer. And Brad's going to be probably asked to do a short run early next week. But in the meantime, what he's done has been really good. He's done pretty much all pain-free cardiovascular exercise he can. So swimming and cycling have been cool, and he's been doing a bit of strength training, any movements that don't hurt the calf. And that's exactly how you do it, because that gives you a fair chance of being able to run Cape Town, because you're not losing a ton of fitness because you're staying really super active. And if we can get the calf back to 100%, then you're in with a good shot of running and enjoying not Comrades, Cape Town Marathon, and then qualifying this year, which is first prize, but it's not the be all and end all. And that's to Brad's questions. Like, he's made peace with the fact that he doesn't run Cape Town, he doesn't run it because what we don't want is an attempt there. If you fail in qualifying an attempt, that's not an issue because you've got next year. But if you hurt yourself in the attempt and fail, then we're sitting in a situation where you've re-injured an injured muscle, which often can mean a worse injury. And so now that's it. We're taking out the whole of December. And then that means we're only starting from scratch again in January. And then your pressure starts to build up. Whereas if we decide, okay, Comrades is not going to, Cape Town is not going to be it, then you will be very soft pedaling a lot in the next 2-3 weeks, making sure that you're 100% healthy. And then we'll build up and you qualify in February next year, or late January, February next year. And that still gives you plenty of time to recover from that effort and then still train for Comrades. Okay. So that's kind of your worst case scenario for you. So you had a question
Yeah,
there.
no, I also just wanted to say, Lindsay, like I think often we also forget about external factors that are going on. And on two fronts, you mentioned the heat at Berlin and the amount of people that we've seen that didn't adjust their race plan for the heat. They just tried to go and it's like hope for the best. So that's the one part, but also just life in general when we're training. And I've obviously got lots going on behind the scenes while my wife's not well at the moment. Yeah, so it's just there's lots going on outside of running that often we don't take into account when things like this happen. That we go, you know what, we've just got to keep pushing. But that isn't always the best way to go. And sometimes you do need to like sort of look at the bigger picture and go, well, geez, it's not just the injury. There's actually lots of other stuff that you've got to take into account too that can impact our running performance.
And your body doesn't differentiate stress. So whether it's a death in the family or an MBA that you're carrying on top of your normal job, or mega financial pressure at home, or one of your children going through something hectic at school, that is just an additional stress, and your body doesn't compartmentalize this stress. And the example that I always use is the then national rowing coach Roger Barrow, through like continuous research they did with the sports scientist that was working team Jimmy Clark. What they noticed when they were following the physiological adaptations of the rowers is that the stress from an exam was the same as the stress from a hardcore 20K session on the earth. And so they realized that when they went into exam period, that if they didn't acknowledge the exam as a training session, then effectively they were forcing the rower to do an additional session on top of everything they were doing. And that's when they were getting the breakdowns, the illnesses, and so on. And so they started. So that's to your point, is that if there are other things going on going on in your life, you really do need to take account of those, acknowledge them, and adjust your recovery and your training accordingly, so that you can actually cope with everything that's happening at that time.
Yeah, Lindsay, it's so interesting because just on the heat side of things and where we're at now, particularly in Cape Town, is I remember in the build up to last year's Cape Town Marathon, we had a very wet winter, late in winter, and it's been different this year. And then all of a sudden, like 2 weeks before race day last year, it just got super hot. And then on race day, it was quite warm as well. And people really did struggle with the heat. Whereas this year, it's been a bit warmer in the build up to Cape Town. But it's like, again, you've got to take into account everything. And heat, I think, let's just touch on the heat as well, because like, I know you struggled. I know lots of people who did struggle. Like, what happens if you are like, how do we adjust our marathon on race day if we arrive and it's a lot warmer and a lot more humid than what we've trained for? If you're over 50 and want to recover from sessions faster, run pain and injury free, and improve your endurance, then be sure to join Lindsay and I for our upcoming Faster Beyond 50 Masterclass. In it, we'll show you how we helped a 70-year-old run a 47-minute, 18-second 10K and how you can take those exact same principles and apply them in your training. Simply scan the QR code that's on screen right now or click on the link in the description below to save your seat in the training now. We look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, and you can't ignore it. So the two biggest stresses for the human body are altitude and heat. So if you try and ignore it, your body will downregulate you. You will feel awful. You will blow, and essentially, we have to maintain our body temperature within a certain range. So that's the bottom line of what's going on. And when we exercise, our muscles generate an enormous amount of heat. And normally, how the body copes with that is it shunts that heat via the blood to the surface of the body, so to the skin. And then at the skin, we then lose that heat through a variety of ways, through sweat, through conduction, through convection. And then we've got some particular places. The forehead is a huge place that releases heat, but basically anywhere on the surface of the skin. When we're breathing, we lose. But the point is that the body is trying to regulate itself within a certain temperature. And that's why between 9 and 14 degrees Celsius, that's the ideal window for world record performances, because that is the temperature at which the body finds it the easiest to regulate heat. Obviously, depending on the intensity that you're running at, that temperature will change slightly, but anything in the teens is fairly good for the body to manage. As soon as you get into the 20s, it starts to struggle, and 22, 3, 4, 5, and then as we had at Berlin, 27 becomes tough. And then if it's humid, becomes harder, because then we lose our biggest ability, and that's from the evaporation of the sweat from our skin is our number one cooling. So if it's hot and humid, you're dead in the water. So what do? You can keep yourself cool by splashing yourself, staying every time you get to a water point, putting cold water on you, putting ice under your cap and letting that slowly melt and dribble down. If it's available, you can get some like cooling vests. And I saw a lot of triathletes running at them at World Champs, and there were quite a few people running with them at Berlin. I think it's like a thing that I didn't actually look at it, and I meant to research it after the race, and I didn't. But just looking at it up close and personal, I originally thought it was basically like an ice pack that was frozen and then slowly cools, but no, it's a whole array of spikes. Okay, which what I suspect happens with the spikes is that it absorbs a lot of sweat, and then with you running, that moving through the air then will dry those spikes, cool them, and then that cooling effect will cool your forehead, and you'll lose a lot of heat that way. So that's how I suspect they work. But so you've got lots of things like that, but you still have to adjust, okay? Because if you don't adjust, you're going to blow up, because your body's going to go, we can't anymore. Stop. This is getting dangerous. And so you're probably looking at somewhere in the region of 3 to 8 seconds per K slower than you would otherwise expect to perform in ideal conditions.
Cool, Lindsay. And just while we are talking about Cape Town as well, I just want to let everybody know that if you are running Cape Town, and if you haven't seen it yet, we do have a very, very cool podcast series that we've been putting on here at Coach Parry. And Tutu and Jamie have been hosting it. And Lindsay, I know you've been getting tons of feedback too. I have. Everybody who's listening to it is absolutely loving it. So make sure you check that out on whatever podcast player you're listening on, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can see them on this channel as well. It's called Run Cape Town. It is available right now. And that leads me into our pacing bands. We are selling our customized pacing bands as well. You can pre-order those. The link is in the description. If you are running Cape Town, grab your customized pacing band. You can pick it up from us in the few days leading up as well. Unfortunately, we're not, for the first time in forever, at the Expo, Linz. I don't know if you want to give us a little bit of background of why Coach Parry's not at the Cape Town Marathon Expo this year, but we are selling those personalized pacing bands, and we are going to be right next door to the stadium, literally across the road. We'll tell you where you can pick them up. But what's the story? Why aren't we at the Expo this year?
Very simply because Cape Town Marathon don't want us selling our pacing bands at the Expo. And we want to sell our pacing bands. So we made the decision that we're not going to go to the Cape Town Marathon Expo, but we are still going to be in Cape Town. We do love the race. We obviously love all of you, and we know how many of you are going to be there, and we know how many of you come to rely on those pacing bands to execute the perfect race. And yeah, so we're going to be there. We are selling them, and we're literally going to be across the road at Cafe Blatt.
Extra Blood.
Yeah, Extra
Cafe
Blatt.
Extra
Sorry.
Blood. The extra is important.
Cafe Extra Blatt. Yes, sorry, that is important, and it's important to get names right. Full stop.
Yes.
But we literally are across from the Expo in Greenpoint, pretty much where everyone's going to be parking anyway. So you'll can come and either visit us before you go to the Expo or after the Expo, but we'll be there. And you can pre-order those bands, as Brad said. So yeah, we'll make sure we've got you covered, and make sure that you can come and say hi and get your good luck selfies.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is literally, as Lindsay said, literally across the road. So where the traffic circle is by the stadium, it's right on that traffic circle. So it's within walking distance. You can park, pop to the Expo, and then come grab a cup of coffee, hang out with Coach Parry team. Will be there. We're looking forward to seeing you. But the link to purchase and pre-order your pacing bands is in the link or in the description of this video and in the show notes of the podcast as well. And then Lindsay, just finally, since the last time we spoke, Comrades have announced the new race director. And yeah,
Brad, before we go there, we haven't spoken to the novices yet. So I think we better quickly better quickly chat about the novices. Yeah, so and you can get FOMO quickly. And now, if you're a novice and we almost forgot about you, you're probably sitting and panicking a little bit because everyone's qualifying. I'm not qualifying. I think it's important as a novice that you've got to learn to drown out the noise, and you don't want to get too fixated on Strava. Don't get too fixated on what other people are doing. Your mission is to be consistent and to do what you need to do. It's to do the strength training. It's to lay the foundation so that come the 1st of January 2026, you are in a really good position to build up and run your qualifying marathon in February, early March at the latest, and then knuckle down and train for Comrades. So yeah, so for the novices, don't get too much FOMO. Maybe soak up the energy. Maybe get on the socials and get some inspiration from seeing what other people are doing in this marathon season. But for you, just stick to the task, get consistent, lay your foundation, do your strength training, and make sure that you're in a good position to be successful in 2026.
Yeah, Lindsay, something else I just thought of before we get on to the final point as well is the Two Oceans ballot has been done. And I was checking on Facebook actually this morning, just before we recorded this, the amount of people that I know that didn't get a spot in the ballot that are freaking out now they don't have an ultra to run. This is probably a good opportunity to sort of explore other ultras. There's lots of great ultras in South Africa. And just like Comrades, the world doesn't revolve around two oceans. Yeah, there are other options.
No, 100%. And it's great for the race. It's great that the race is full. And look, I've seen a lot of the commentary on there, but what I want to say is that from what I've seen, you can all at least rest assured that it was a ballot. I mean, it was a lucky draw, essentially, and there was no funny anything, and no one's been excluded. I saw some people very grumpy that novices have gotten in, and what about the people who have been running Two Oceans? Two Oceans don't care about us. Well, that's not true, but they have to. If you've only got 14,000 places and you get 17,000 applications, there's only one fair way of doing it, and that's with a ballot. So good on Two Oceans from that point of view. And Brad, you are 100% right. You ran False Bay last year and said it was one of the best races you've run.
Don't tell people that, Lindsay. There's only 2,000 people that run it. It's a small race. It's great. I don't want more people running it because it is. It is the best ultra in the country. So I'm gonna say that.
Yeah. So there are others, to your point, and I think there are other marathons you can use as training, other ultras. So don't panic. There is another window coming in November too, so please don't panic. And there will be substitutions.
Yeah, exactly.
There will be substitutions, which is also something like these international races don't offer. Like Berlin and London and Tokyo are notoriously difficult to get into. And you get in and then you can't run, but you can't give your entry to anybody. So I didn't get in either. So let's not that was my fault. I'm a blue number. I forgot to enter on the blue number. But I didn't get in. so I'll try again in November and then probably a substitution. But
there's charity.
that's how the cookie crumbles.
They also have charity entries too, so that is an option as well. If it makes you feel any better, Lindsay, I also didn't get in. And also, no fault of my own, I forgot to enter the ballots. So we're both morons, which is not good. I think that's and Lindsay. I mean, people moaning about the ballot. One of the big talking points and controversies around Two Oceans this year was having too many people at the race, more than what they were actually allowed to. So you can't have your bread buttered on both sides. You can't moan that Cape Town aren't sticking to the sort of rules and regulations to put the race on, and then when they do, moan that you can't get a spot. So unfortunately, running is growing, which is a good thing, and sometimes you don't get what you want. That's one of the unfortunate things of life, I guess.
Yeah,
cool.
Exactly.
Let's talk about new race director, because Comrades seem to have got what they want. She is amazing. She's got great track record in South African running, and not that Elaine did a bad job this year, but it's not his role. He's the general manager. There was a position that was open that he sort of pulled in the slack for this year's race. But Sue is amazing, and I think she's going to do a great job.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, and also full disclaimer, I have no personal relationship with Sue whatsoever. I have dealt with her as a, a race director or involved in race management. Maybe not, maybe she can't remember if she was the race director or not, but in more than one event. And highly efficient, very fair, firm, gets the job done. So I am very excited to work with her. I think it's a great addition to the Comrades team. Yeah, look, I think let's give anyone who doesn't know her, because obviously not people who aren't in the running community have been like, oh, who is this? I can tell her I'm prepared to put my reputation on the line, that she's going to do a good job. So I think all of you should give her opportunity and the space to do that. And I've already said I'm looking forward to working with her. I'm looking forward to her maintaining standards and also implementing some new things, which is always a good thing about having someone new, and coming from other events and bringing experience from other things that have worked, is that we may just see a couple of new changes that benefit the race. So yeah, let's watch it unfold and give all the support we can, and then go from there.
Yeah, and Lindsay, she's worked on some of the biggest events in South Africa. Some big events. Obviously, Comrades is one of, or it is the biggest ultramarathon in the world, but she's worked on some races of huge magnitude here in South Africa. Maybe not ultras, but some 10Ks that are really big. And yeah, full disclosure too, I don't know Sue, so yeah, I'm just really excited to see. I know other races she's been involved in and how well they organize. So yeah, hoping some of that rubs off in future editions of Comrades. And one of the funniest Facebook comments, people on internet are just too funny. I remember when Comrades made the announcement, one of the funniest, and we both had a laugh about it, where somebody said they hope that the people who sleep at work at Comrades know what's coming because Sue doesn't sleep. So it should be good. So yeah, looking forward to that. Congratulations, and we look forward to sort of engaging and helping as much as we can. As I think that's one of the reasons why we do these podcasts and webinar series, is just to try and get as much information out there, because that's what we need. So yeah, our door's always open. If there's information that Comrades wants to disseminate to the runners, the platform is here. So I'm opening that door. The invitation is always open. There you go. I've said it. Yeah, Lindsay, as always, great to catch up. We'll catch up in a few weeks' time. I'm just trying to think. I'm looking at the date. It'll probably be after Cape Town. So fingers crossed. We'll see people at Cape Town, but you and I will catch up on here just after Cape Town, and hopefully, fingers crossed, my car sorts itself out and I have a good run.
Yeah, I hope so too. Train well the next few days, and we'll catch up very soon, as we always do.